Sometimes it's difficult for us to get away, either to break away from family, responsibilities, afford the plane fare. I want to pose to you that sometimes by simply opening your eyes and opening your heart to the people right in your own backyard, you can really find yourself venturing out into one of life's biggest journeys. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and a whole gaggle of very honored guests. I lived in northern Westchester for nearly 20 years of my life. It's a suburban community. It's quite affluent. And not all of us are quite affluent, but the area is pretty affluent. And I had an experience one day that really epitomizes my point, and how when we start to open our eyes and open our hearts, we can begin to see the world around us. I want to move here because you're all so far away. I had lived in a little ranch house on a dead-end street. I was surrounded by young families and people raising their children, a few older people. But by and large, everyone seemed to be pretty much like me and like my neighbors. We had a little strip mall down the street, and it had my dry cleaner in it. The dry cleaner was conveniently located to a lot of other places that we frequent, so that was the place where I often brought my clothes. It was run by a woman who had just recently bought it. And one day, I went in and brought a couple of my things to her, and I noticed this beautiful flowering plant right by the cash register. And so I commented to her as I'm handing her all of my dirty clothes, and she's giving me my slip. And I said, very pretty plant. Her English isn't so good. Whatever language she spoke isn't mine. And she said, thank you. In my country, it's a good luck plant. And when it's flowering like it is today, it signifies that good luck is coming your way. I thought this was a beautiful story to match a beautiful plant. And I said, oh, what is your country? And she said, Cambodia. Well, I'm a child of the 70s. And I came of age in the 70s in college, and I remember the Vietnam War well. I remember the protests, and I remember the genocide that was occurring in Cambodia in the mid to late 70s. And I looked at this woman who was about my age, and I said, you're a very long way from home. She said, yes, I am, in what was very difficult to understand. And I said, when did you leave? And she said, oh, many years ago, whatever the math was. It turned out to be about 1979, which was the end of the Pol Pot regime. Cambodia, for those of you who don't know, is a small country. It's about half the size of California, near Vietnam, where during a whole political regime, 1.5 million people were killed, citizens, within a 4-year span of time. So I said to my dry cleaner, you've lived quite a life. You've been on quite a journey. And she got very quiet. And she said, yes, my family and I were refugees. We went barefoot out of our village. We had guards. They were armed. They had bayonets. And we traveled, I forget, some very long distance through the mountains to escape the genocide that was happening in their home. In the beautiful surroundings of Westchester, she says to me, did you know that when a man is starving and he's dying, he asks for a mouthful of rice before he dies? I did not know that. She told me a story of a baby who had been crying too much. A soldier brought that baby to an untimely end and discarded it on their way because the baby that was crying would tip off and risk the lives of all the other people on the journey. Her name is Sakura, and Sakura and I stood there weeping while she told me this story. A woman from the town came in and dumped her laundry at this woman in a very frenetic pace and treated her like an unknown immigrant that she saw her to be, told her what needed to be done to her husband's polo jeans, and stormed out. I was just still reeling from the story that I'd heard. I said, well, Sakura, what's your life like now? She said, oh, my life is wonderful. I said, I have 3 children. They all graduated top of the class from NYU. One is a doctor, one is a lawyer, and I forget what the other one is. This is my brother, and this toothless man smiles at me next to a picture of his religious sage that's by the cash register. And she said, and I make lots of money. I sell all the clothes for Ann Taylor. You like that dress? You want it to be made again? I'll make it for you. I can do anything. I can copy any outfit. Sakura and I became great friends. Now when I brought my laundry to her, I started bringing stories of my children. I started to bring her treats and food. She started giving me candy. I made sure that my children always came with me and had a chance to talk to her. The plant that she got that day was not luck bringing just her luck. I think that that plant brought me luck too. Because just by going around the corner and walking into this little dry cleaner, I was able to embrace a much larger world because I saw it through Sakura's brave, tenacious, adventurous, survivalist eyes. I hope you take the time to speak to those people yourselves and begin your journeys. Thank you.
That was absolutely wonderful and inspiring.